What happens if you know the future but you're an obese magician? Find out in today's recap. In a land called Nas, there was a fierce battle raging. It was the year 1424, and the Great War was at its peak. Creatures of all kinds clashed swords with their enemies, but many lives were lost in the chaos. Flames danced and blood stained the ground as the ominous Demon King's army pressed forward, leaving devastation in their wake. Those who resisted knew their end was near, uttering their final goodbyes with heavy hearts. In the midst of this despair, whispers of hope began to circulate. Tales of a mysterious warrior emerging from the shadows began to spread like wildfire, a glimmer of light in the darkness. This very warrior marked the end of the opening theme of a remarkable role-playing game called Paradiso. The story then shifted to a young and dedicated player, our protagonist. Hours upon hours were spent immersed in the world of Paradiso, where they carefully crafted a charming character that evolved into a seasoned veteran over time. With unyielding affection for the game, they reigned supreme as the #1 power blogger on the game's information site for a decade. However, their fervour for the game led them down a perilous path. Overworked and consumed by their passion, their health deteriorated, ultimately leading to a tragic end. One day the protagonist awoke in a frenzy, beads of sweat trickling down their forehead. The room they found themselves in was grand, a vast royal bedroom adorned with exquisite paintings and grand windows that bathed the room in sunlight. Confusion gripped them, and a kindly maid stood nearby, inquiring about their nightmare. As the fog of confusion lifted, the protagonist realized the bewildering truth. They had been reincarnated into the world of Paradiso as an obese character named Jared. His journey started anew, with him standing in front of a mirror, grappling with the shock of his transformation. Puzzled by his newfound form, Jared questioned how he had remained overweight for a decade in the game without his appearance ever changing. Upon gaining composure, Jared's memories returned, and he pieced together the puzzle. He was once a gamer who had met his end from exhaustion. Now, he had been reborn as a young nobleman named Jared. Glancing at the game's familiar user interface, he realized that the Nas calendar was his reality's reckoning. Dread settled in as Jared came to understand the grim fate that awaited this world. In a mere decade, the Great Stallion War would engulf Nas, with the Demon King's forces wreaking havoc. Jared, plagued by obesity, felt powerless to escape, but the impending war wasn't the only catastrophe on the horizon. A cascade of droughts, famine, and natural disasters loomed, driving people to their breaking points. As desperation took hold, conflicts arose, escalating into a frenzy of battles between nations, the Great Nas War. Amidst the chaos, Jared's plight became clear. A rotund nobleman would be easy prey. Frustration welled up within him, and he cursed his fate. Even the Paradiso Encyclopedia, where he once held the esteemed position of the #1 blogger, had overlooked him. Jared's bitterness swelled, and he pondered the unfairness of his predicament. Why couldn't he have been given a dashing, handsome character instead? In a fit of anger, he lashed out, and the chair he sat upon buckled beneath his weight, sending him tumbling to the floor. Jared had vivid memories of his younger self, a slim, smart boy with big blue eyes and golden hair neatly tied up. Looking back at those times, he couldn't help but think that such a guy should have grown up to become a truly handsome man. Lying on the floor, feeling a bit down, Jared realized that moping around wouldn't help him achieve his goals. With determination, he picked himself up, setting a clear goal in his mind, to shed some weight and use the bugs in the game to his advantage. Jared's mind was racing. He wondered why he couldn't be just as smart now as he was back then. He struggled to get back on his feet, but his intention was clear in his determined eyes and expressions. Drawing upon his deep knowledge of the game, Jared was determined to turn any situation to his favour. He wasn't willing to accept the bleak future that lay ahead. Instead, he was resolute in carving out a brighter path for himself. As Jared's thoughts raced, a maid named Hayes was busy tidying up the library. She pondered how it had been so long since Master Jared had visited. Suddenly Jared burst into the room, a whirlwind of energy, and started searching through the books and shelves. Curious, Hayes asked what he was looking for. With a determined tone, Jared explained that he was seeking the keepsakes left behind by his father. Hayes soon discovered a gleaming golden necklace with a reddish stone nestled within it. She handed it to Jared, and his face lit up with a mixture of joy and gratitude. As Hayes witnessed his happiness, she felt proud to have been of assistance. Jared's knowledge of the game was extensive, and he recognized the keepsake's significance, an artifact that enhanced magical abilities. Jared's plan was to break the stone, despite its sentimental value, in order to harness its power. With a decisive motion, Jared shattered the stone. In an instant the room grew dark, and black smoke swirled and twisted, forming into a tornado before taking the shape of a figure. Before Jared stood the being he had summoned, the sinister spirit of Isabella. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What kind of magic is the best? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. CH2. Isabella's presence was formidable. With her towering stature, long golden hair, eerie red eyes, and triangular teeth, she was a sight that could easily strike fear into anyone's heart. Yet Jared knew that Isabella despised cowards, and favoured those who remained composed and resourceful. Determined to win her favour, Jared wasted no time and boldly declared his desire for the Mind Eye. Isabella's laughter echoed through the room. She teased Jared for his greed, explaining that the Mind Eye was a skill possessed by only one user in the entire realm of Paradiso. It allowed the user to perceive the stats and traits of individuals, with the user's level influencing the depth of information they could gather. Jared envisioned using this skill to manage his territory and guide the rising stars within it. But Isabella's offer came with a catch. She proposed a contract that would grant Jared the coveted Mind Eye, but he would have to relinquish whatever he held most dear, whether it was money, honour, family, or something else. Fearing the prospect of losing what he cherished most, Jared steeled himself and devised a clever plan. With a mischievous grin, Jared concocted a fictitious object that he claimed was his most treasured possession. Isabella, able to read his thoughts, accepted his declaration. Unbeknownst to her, Jared's supposed treasure was a 34-year-old man's first kiss. Isabella, taken aback by the unexpected response, found herself trapped in Jared's clever ruse. The scene shifted, and Hayes, clutching a stack of books, hurried towards Jared's room. Along the way, she passed by fellow maids discussing the odd sight of a seemingly lazy and overweight man bursting out of his room. The books Hayes carried contained information about the surrounding territories, a request Jared had made. Jared's focus turned to Hayes, and he employed his Mind Eye to examine her stats. He discovered that Hayes was already at level 8, with an impressive S-class devotion and an unrequited love trait, among other special tendencies. Recognizing her potential, Jared decided to harness her abilities, planning to elevate her from a mere maid to a skilled healer. After handing over the papers, Hayes said sorry for her mistakes that kept happening. Jared saw her worried face and remembered how a long time ago a not-so-nice man would scold her for tiny errors. He felt bad for Hayes and walked up to her, giving her a big hug and saying how sorry he was for his past actions. He promised to change and be a better person. Tears of happiness rolled down Hayes' cheeks, and their heartwarming moment ended. During dinner, our main character, Jared, avoided fatty foods and stuck to eating veggies and herbs. He was really determined to lose weight and be healthier. Even though the veggies seemed plain to others, Jared ate them like they were a delicious treat. Something magical happened. His metabolism sped up, and calories started to burn. Just when Jared thought he might feel sick from the weird taste, Hayes surprised him with a yummy steak. Jared lives in a place called the Creever Territory. It's really cold there, and there are lots of bandits and monsters. Jared's working hard to improve himself and become stronger, but the Creever quests are too tough for him right now. He's focusing on becoming better first. CH3. Now let's jump back in time about 10 years. There was a sad moment when someone tried to comfort Jared after his dad passed away. Fast forward to the present, and Jared's a leader in his own territory, Krivia. He called a meeting with his officials to talk about important stuff. One guy, Chief City Guard Sir Gregus, was acting silly and trying to flirt with Hayes. Another noble named Sir Lachis got mad and started arguing with Gregus. But an old man stepped in and calmed everyone down, asking them to join the meeting. The meeting surprised everyone, especially because Jared was acting like a real king. He even scolded Gregus for being drunk and messing up. Jared used magic to warn Gregus to shape up, and it was a big change from how he used to be. He said people who were being dishonest would get in trouble, and even the other nobles got scared and apologized. Jared finished the meeting strong, and people started to respect him more again. A month passed, and in an empty house in Krivia, some bad guys were collecting taxes without permission. They were Gragus's men, even though Gragus himself hadn't shown up. But suddenly Jared appeared, and decided to stop the unfair taxes. CH4A fight broke out, and Sir Lachis beat up the bad guys. Jared blocked the leader's escape and used powerful magic to stop him. People were so happy to see action being taken. The poor were given free food, and the criminals were arrested. People sang songs to thank Jared for making things right. He was happy with Sir Lachis's help, and he used his special ability to help Lachis do his job even better. There was another issue with low crops. Jared's mind was racing with ideas to solve the problem of local production and save resources for his people. Iraqis had noticed him deep in thought, his hands resting on his belly. A curious occurrence took place, a bug in the game, this buglowing him to absorb his own mana and boost his power. Just then, a knight hurried into the room, reporting about the discovery of a bandit camp in the coal mines. The bandits had taken slaves, sparking memories of a year ago. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.